Okay. So this will be a lot of information that you guys are going to go through. It's going to be pretty in depth, and I'm going to give you the PDF, the presentation that I'm going to be going through. Like I said, I just said it before. If you hear any hammering in the back, that's because they're doing construction. They're building out a like podcast studio. So, nonetheless, though, what I do want to talk about is obviously gut health. Like I had mentioned, we're going to talk about everything to what are the specific issues that are caused by poor gut health, and so much more. So let's get that going, and then how in conjunction it all works together, because everything ties together. Everything works together in unison. Everything in our body doesn't work in isolation. So let's do this. Okay. So you aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb. So what I mean by that is that if you aren't absorbing the food they're eating, you're not even, taking it in. So with that being said, we have to be in mind that many people struggle with a lot of different health issues, and it's actually from nutrient deficiencies. They're deficient in zinc, vitamin D, iodine, selenium, hormonal imbalances, thyroid issues, chronic fatigue, and so forth. Okay, so all disease begins in the gut, as Hippocrates said, which is a Greek physician philosopher. Because remember, you have more bacteria inside your gut than you do cells inside your body. And for reference, there's 34 trillion cells in your body. Okay, and there's more bacteria, okay, in your gut. Okay. So let's do it. So when we talk about all disease begins in the gut here, okay, your nervous system, you have something called your vagus nerve. That's connected to your gut. So when the gut becomes imbalanced, it wreaks havoc on your nervous system. Your immune health, a large percentage of your immune cells are housed in your gut. Obviously, your microbiome, IBD, endocrine system, your thyroid health, your reproductive hormones, and then your environment, obviously, can affect your gut health too. So, with all this being said, no matter if you're struggling with Hashimoto's, PCOS, hypothyroidism, weight loss resistance, fatigue problems, it all goes back to your gut health. Okay, it can come from intestinal permeability, meaning leaky gut. You could have intact gut lining junctions that are, intact. So now it's leaky. So now foreign things are passing through the digestive tract into your bloodstream that then causes inflammation. And then in many it causes something called immunological response. So they're dealing with the immune system attack. Another thing is bacterial imbalance. There's an overgrowth of commensal bacteria. There could be parasites even, which is actually pretty big. And then, just some type of dysbiosis, even if it's good bacteria, even if you have too much good bacteria, that could be an issue. Impaired digestion absorption. Okay. If you don't have enough stomach acid, pancreatic enzymes, bile to help break down the food that you're ingesting, okay, that's going to cause issue. Nutrient deficiencies. Okay. Just coming off that. Food sensitivity, allergens, and intolerances. All right, I'll do this real quick. Three different ones. Okay. Food sensitivity. Okay. Your body now is reacting to different foods from your immune system. It is called a IgE response. Okay. Food allergy. Okay. That's where you have full blown allergic, your immune system has a full blown allergic attack with the specific food you're eating. And then intolerance is just that you don't have the right, it's only digestive oriented. It has nothing to do with your immune system. Okay. You pretty much just lack the enzymes to break down specific foods. And then inflammation. Um, that obviously is a big thing because when you have an impaired gut microbiome, that actually causes systemic inflammation throughout the body, usually coming in the form of leaky gut. So when you have obviously inflammation coming throughout the body, that can spike your blood sugars even and cause a lot of cardiometabolic issues. So a lot of issues that come with heart problems actually come from poor gut health, and then obviously impaired gut-brain axis. So a lot of your neurotransmitters. So you have neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, and those type of ones. A lot of people know what dopamine is, serotonin is. Okay. So if you do have impaired gut, you also have impaired mood. You have impaired neurotransmitters. You don't have enough dopamine getting made. You don't have enough serotonin because specifically 90% of serotonin is housed in your gut. Okay. So with that being said, there's many GI conditions. There's just, general bloating. Okay, there's constipation, there's diarrhea, There's gastritis, there's GERD, there's IBS, SIBO, and IBD. All right. These are a lot of these, and you remember though, these are the symptoms. This is the symptom. This is just a diagnosis, but it's a symptom. There's an underlying root cause to why you have SIBO. There's an underlying root cause to IBS, IBD, GERD as well. All right, so with bloating, a lot of the bloating, common causes that happen with bloating is just, swallowing air too fast. This is why we tell you to slow down when you eat. Okay. Um, if you're dealing with constipation, acid reflux, you don't have enough stomach acid, you're dealing with IBS. Okay, so obviously, what do we do for that? We remove trigger foods like food sensitivities. Many people get bloated off gluten, also dairy, vegetable oils, even like seed oils. Another thing is we space the meals out, regularly throughout the week, throughout the day, so you can, avoid the bloating. Okay, obviously slowing down and then addressing constipation, gentle movement, and digestive massage. So GERD. Many people struggle with GERD. PPIs are one of the most, I wouldn't even say prescribed because you can just grab them over the counter, but they're one of the most used drugs in the country in the United States. And with that being said, we should understand that antacids are proton pump inhibitors, um, just block the acid production from actually happening, which can actually make matters worse by promoting SIBO because acid is like a stomach barrier. It is like a first line of defense. And so if you don't have enough of it, it can create a environment for your stomach acid to just grow, or not grow, but just sit there. Okay, and then obviously things start growing like bacteria, like H. pylori. So many people that struggle with acid reflux and GERD, they actually struggle with H. pylori. Okay. So the problem though is that with like heartburn, GERD, acid reflux, the issue is not too much stomach acid, it's too little. So when I have someone, like if anyone, depending on your specific situation, obviously we don't use uh PPIs no matter what, but saying we actually use things like utilize or something just, the direct name hydrochloric acid, betaine, pancreatic bile salts. These are things that help bring back that stomach acid, like hydrochloric acid. Okay. So we're helping the body in its own healing capacity here. Okay. So PPIs though, Tums, uh, o- omeprazole is another one. These actually impair your nutrients. It causes nutrient deficiencies and even increases the risk of other things like H. pylori, different types of bacteria overgrowth like C. diff, and Campylobacter, and even just overall just SIBO if it's just any type of bacteria overgrowth. So most root causes to autoimmune diseases, skin disorders, hormonal imbalances, thyroid issues, and even nutrient deficiency problems come from poor gut health. And their gut issues are more than just, bloating, constipation, acid reflux, GERD, and more. 80% of your immune system is housed in your gut. Most of your immune system cells are housed in your gut. So if you have an altered gut, okay, you can only imagine what's going to happen to your immune system. Okay. Obviously, the gut is also, like I mentioned, the second brain because you have all your neurotransmitters housed there. Okay. So obviously, taking a functional approach to gut health, okay, is a lot different than just conventional medicine. Your primary care doctor or even gastroenterologist. Okay. They use antacids for heartburn or antibiotics for infections. Okay. And I know this because when I worked at the hospital myself, I would talk with gastroenterologists and they would never mention diet or soda or anything. They would just mention what type of things they would take for this symptom or whatever. But yet again, that's okay because that's how they're trained and that's how they get paid at the end of the day. So we cannot get, too upset. Truthfully, we have to reframe that. If you're watching the replay, you have to reframe that the doctor you're seeing is not trained or paid by getting to the root cause. That's how it works. Okay, there's nothing else that they're not trained and they're not even supposed to. The thing is that they got to make money too. So how are they going to do it? They're going to give you a pharmaceutical drug. Okay. So thing is that no one's going to come and save us. No one's going to help you with getting to the root cause of your health issues besides people like me, naturopaths, functional medicine. And obviously those people, are the hardest to get because you got to pay out of pocket and all that. That's how they want it. We got information here that can change lives. So, all right. So obviously we have all the symptoms besides the bloating and the constipation. We got the acne, the dry hair, we got hair falling out, we got anxiety, we got depression, we got weight loss, especially with IBD, we got weight gain, okay, more often than not. And then we have just obviously, the bloating, the constipation. Okay. So what are we going to do here? So it all starts with our digestion. Okay. If we aren't actually getting the food down to our gut, like it's not nothing's going to happen. So what we want to focus on is the digestion portion. Okay. Just smelling food, seeing food, your body starts producing enzymes in your saliva, in your mouth. Okay. It then passes in your stomach. Okay. Into your esophagus. Okay. When you're digesting food, by the way, sorry. Okay. And then after the food is broken down, it goes into the small intestine. Now, this is actually a very crucial part. Most of your nutrients you eat and absorb eat gets absorbed by the small intestine. Your small intestine, okay, which is let's see here. I had the resource here pulled up. Your small intestine, which is pretty much your right here. Where's the image of it? All right, so your small intestine about right here absorbs most of your nutrients, but that means it goes under a ton of stress. So if it goes under a ton of stress, this is why many people get an IBS label, but it's really SIBO. Your small intestine absorbs most of your nutrients. That's why correcting your small intestine is crucial. Uh, you know, so we'll skip over this right now, just talking about the different bacteria in the gut. And then this is talking about, some of the things that are actually affecting your gut. Okay. Your diet, eating prebiotic foods, probiotic foods, antibiotics, a big one. Antibiotic usage wipes out the entirety of the microbiome. Just one round of antibiotics can permanently disrupt the microbiome, you know? Um, and the thing is that like, you know, let's just take me for example. So when I was a lot like younger, and this happens with many people, is that I had a lot of ear infections, and so I took shit ton of antibiotics. And then, I was always getting sick. And then I stopped. I just totally went homeopathic. And then, now I rarely obviously get sick. But this is important because if we continue just taking antibiotics, I'm trying to get the relationship here. You understand that the immune system, your gut, antibiotic usage, it all goes together. Okay. So if you're continuing to take antibiotics or you've had a history of antibiotics from either yeast infections, or any type of other infection like an ear infection, like I mentioned, it will disrupt the microbiome. Okay. If you even just deal with flu or even, C19, that can actually infect the gut. Okay. Lifestyle factors, and then obviously environmental factors like heavy metals and mold, stress, genetics, age, physiological processes, you putting a lot of stress in your body. Okay. All can impair the gut microbiome. All right. So this is just, I'm not going to get into that. Obviously, these are the indications of poor gut health. Okay. Allergies, autoimmunity, bone health, brain function, cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, autoimmune, skin issues, thyroid disorders. All right. All these affect your microbiome, as we have mentioned. IBS. Perfect. So IBS is a Band-Aid label. It just means you have irritable bowel, but that doesn't really mean anything. All right. What actually is the reasoning behind IBS? We can't just be putting labels on things to people and not doing anything about it. That's what conventional medicine does. And yeah, that's pretty much what we've been taught to do. So what actually causes IBS? You know, a lot of the times it's some type of SIBO. SIBO is the biggest thing that I see cause IBS. That and leaky gut. So when you have SIBO, you have an overgrowth of bacteria. So what happens is that we're talking about most of your nutrients get absorbed in your small intestine. So with that being said, if you are dealing with the bacteria overgrowth because you are eating so much inflammatory foods, or you're just eating a lot of high prebiotic foods, higher FODMAP foods, this will start to produce gas into your small intestine because it'll start to ferment. The food will start to ferment and produce gas. That gas will then give you the constipation, bloating, and then diarrhea, and then going back and forth. Therefore, you have the IBS label, but the root cause is SIBO. But SIBO is still not the root cause. There's still underlying causes. Okay, the diet, the stress, etc. Just, stress is a big thing that can cause IBS as well. It can break down your gut lining, slow down the secretions of enzymes for you. Okay, liver dysfunction that can lead to toxic overloads like heavy metals. Hypothyroidism, your thyroid gland plays a huge role with your gut and liver. Something called motility, which is the movement of food throughout the digestive tract. If you are dealing with poor thyroid function, you will be dealing with poor gut function, gut motility. It all ties together. So if we correct your thyroid while correcting your gut, while correcting your endocrine system, you obviously can see there's great benefit. And then obviously intestinal permeability can give you the IBS label, so leaky gut. So how are we actually going to fix this? Well, we're going to use the 4R approach. All right, this is what I use with everyone. You all are doing it right now. We want to remove the things that are affecting your gut microbiome, and then we want to remove any type of overgrowth of fungus and bacteria. And if I can, snap my finger and I could do it, I wish I could. I really wish I could, but I can't. So let's do it. So we want to remove things like different types of processed foods, food sensitivities, food intolerances, food allergens, a lot of caffeine, a lot of coffee, okay, and toxins. Okay. We also want to remove a lot of high stress. This is why we focus on what's called parasympathetic, okay, parasympathetic state. Rest, digest, recover. Okay. We also want to remove. We want to remove the overgrowth of bacteria that each individual has because each individual is dealing with some form of dysbiosis. So we use antifungal herbs, gut defender, colloidal silver, Canabactin BR, ADP, oregano oil, biofilm disruptors, which is actually an underlying, like that's a big sleeper that most, even holistic people don't even talk about, is biofilm disruptors, which is the deep bacteria that you can't get. Perfect. This sets me up for the perfect next thing is that I do want to talk about antimicrobial treatments, okay, instead of regular antibiotic treatments. So let's zoom in here, okay? Herbal therapies are at least effective as rifaximin, which is a common SIBO antibiotic, all right? Herbs, the natural herbs are just as effective because there's a lot of studies that say they're even better now because this was, published in, um, I'll have to see. Yeah, because remember though, I'm not just pulling this out of my rear end. This is all legit. Everything I say is real. This is all real science. So nonetheless though, okay, herbal therapies are at least as effective as rifaximin for resolutions of SIBO. Okay. Herbals also appear to be as effective as triple antibiotic therapy for SIBO. Many individuals also have antibiotic resistance, which is scary because that means your gut microbiome doesn't react to antibiotics anymore. All right. Main essence is that we use the antimicrobial herbs because they're just as effective, if not more in some studies, depending on it, to eradicate any dysbiosis or technically small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Okay, so this is important. It's important. And let's also get deeper into it. All right, we'll get down here. So we'll talk about, like I'm saying, we're removing the things. All right. All right. We also are bringing back things. Remove, bring back. You want to bring back the digestive enzymes, the right digestive enzymes during the process of removing. Okay. Because if you don't, you can actually mess things up. So, with that being said, we want to focus on bringing back uh, pancreatic enzymes, bile salts, and hydrochloric acid to help break down and assimilate the nutrients that we're taking in now. Another thing to focus on is that when you are doing all this with your gut, you are heavily, heavily hindering your immune system because you have a ton of your immune cells housed in your gut. So that's important to understand. But we want to bring back the gut. We want to bring back, stomach acid and stuff to help the digestive process. Could can you guys drop a one if you understand? Or wave, whatever. So this is just kind of making sense. We want to remove the things and then we want to bring back stomach acid. Okay. Antibiotics. Okay. Herbs are just as effective as antibiotics. Like it's just so, the gastroenterologist, the primary care physician, they write the prescription, but they could just be using natural herbs instead of destroying 8-year-olds' immune systems and guts, especially as they're, growing. It's just tragic because we're going back to because this is why I framed it. It's all framed for you guys to understand that watching the replay live, whatever. It's all framed. They need to get paid. They're not being heartless. They need to get paid. And this is coming from a dude who's been screwed, so we got to understand. All right, next thing. Want to reinoculate. We got to, because first of all, those two things we're doing, the remove, to bring back the bacteria or bring back the stomach acid, that takes anywhere between, I'll be honest, 10 to 16 weeks sometimes, depending on the severity of the issue. Like you're coming to me and you're 42 and you're just a mess. Yeah, I really wish that I could just like genie in a bottle, but I can't. Okay. Takes a long time. All right. Step 3, we want to reinoculate. We want to bring back the bacteria. This starts by actually reintroducing higher FODMAP foods back into the diet. We can actually look it up right now, but I want to save time. But lower FODMAP foods, which you guys all eat in the beginning and stuff, low FODMAP type dieting improves the issues of IBS, IBD, Crohn's, and even Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. I actually was fascinated by this. SIBO seemed to be the root cause to Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism, primarily, or more specifically, Helicobacter pylori, which is H. pylori. And this is what actually like was crazy is that when I studied this, it was H. pylori causes an antibody attack to the thyroid gland, which is known as Hashimoto's. Well, even Graves. So this is where I found out that even if you gave the thyroid gland zinc, selenium, iodine, all those things, if you didn't address this portion as well, you will not see improvements in your thyroid condition. You will not see improvements in your antibodies. This is important to understand because this is stuff that nobody wants to talk about. You ain't going to go to endocrinologist. You're not going to go to a primary care physician. You're not going to go to a gastroenterologist, and they're not going to tell you any of this. They're not, the cardiologist is not going to tell you how a dysbiosis, low bacteria, low diversity gut is actually a primary reason to hypertension. There's many studies that show this too, and I could just be doing these videos showing you study after study, which actually that's a good idea, but we could do that as well. But this is all logistical. I mean, the results, people. So back to what I'm saying though, this phase is working on bringing back that good bacteria with higher FODMAP foods. Also using different things like probiotics, which is a very, very, I'm not just going to say probiotics, but different specific probiotics. Because remember, you have probiotics. You have a species and a genus of a probiotic. Just like dogs, there's canines and stuff like that. So there's different types. The most studied, especially for GI health and chronic health conditions from IBS, IBD, is Lactobacillus bifidobacterium probiotics. Specifically 3 to 10 billion CFUs. So we use those. Bring back good bacteria. Next is the most important part that everyone misses. They destroy your gut with antimicrobial herbs, which is A1. But they don't spend enough time for you to actually rebuild back up your gut lining so you don't relapse. They don't do that. We do that. So we do that because your gut lining, your immune system, it just got destroyed. It was napalm in there. It just got destroyed. So now we have to rebuild back the gut lining. And how do we do that? By supporting your intestinal mucosa lining. Things like glutamine that feed those epithelial cells inside your gut lining, zinc carnosine to do so as well, colostrum, immunoglobulins, licorice does that as well. Saccharomyces actually do that as well, so forth. That's just a bundle. We'll actually go to the notes here. This is getting primary issues. So we're going to get into, actually, we're just going to actually do this. Okay. Let's pull up this next one. Does that all make sense? Like a one. Okay. Perfect. So some general notes here is that we take, so the thing is that, yeah, all disease begins in the gut, but it's not supposed to be so complex. We first go on the remove. We want to remove the things that affect the gut. We have to remove the inflammation in the gut, and we have to remove the things that inflame the gut. The next thing is to focus on things to replace primarily digestive enzymes. Okay. The third is after a few weeks of doing that, we want to bring back the good bacteria in the gut because we still want those higher prebiotic foods. We want the fiber, we want the fermented foods, but we don't want it in the beginning when there's already an overgrowth of bacteria. We want it later when we help wipe it out and we get it back into balance. Okay. Then we want to restore the gut lining. Okay. So how this implements with you is that with the flush, the foundation is we're doing the removal of everything. And then as we go into the next phase of the execution, we're severely killing the overgrowth of bacteria in a more comprehensive level because in the beginning, we're really worried about detox, if anything. And then as we go into the next portion, we're really talking about gut cleanup, moving the gut bacterial overgrowths. And then We get into re-inoculation. We want to bring back the good bacteria. Okay. And then we want to repair the gut lining. Okay. So going forward, we don't eat to feed ourselves. We eat to actually feed our microbiome because our microbiome kind of, houses trillions of uh, bacteria that regulate every nerve inside our body almost every cell as well. So it's all imperative. So that being said, all disease begins in the gut. When we heal the gut, we heal the condition. We heal the condition. All right, we'll get this going.